pretty clean. Looking back the other direction, there's the line again. You can pretty well see it. So I didn't just pick the cleanest spot in the field. We went out and looked and thought it was representative. Not really too bad. So I told you all the parameters of the field, and one of the things that we're trying to do is change the tilth of the soil, change the structure of the soil, make it more aerobic. Hence, we believe that leads to grass and weed suppression. That's a pretty darn good looking field by anybody's standards, and one that's challenged. So we think we're on to something. Now the question is, can we duplicate it? Okay. Any questions on what I talked about so far? Dean?
As we keep talking about this, one thing that keeps surfacing that we aren't hammering on is where we applied that blend, and the fact that we kept it very shallow. Some of it he just scratched in with the finisher to just take out the track from the spreader. Sometimes he wasn't even taking the track; he was just re-scratching the surface to have the soil. So this was all left very shallow.
Thank you. Did everybody hear that?
This was important.
This was very, very shallow. Yes, I forgot that. Thank you. We didn't go very deep. Remember the issues I talked about earlier? I think it made a difference. Thank you, Dean. Now, the question is, can we duplicate it? I think it's pretty interesting research. A little outside the box. Okay, different situation. This is a gentleman that really, really wet. I don't know if he's even got the beans combined yet. I made up a humus blend for him, and he was putting it on in about 1,000 pounds of humus and 1,000 pounds of gypsum, and a full agri-energy program on top of that. So it wasn't just that. But here's where we started. And I said, let's blanket this. I know this is risky, putting this much gypsum on, relatively close to seed, relatively close to planting at this point. But the ground is so wet and so tight, I thought we needed to do something to shock the soil. That's my term. It's not a scientific one. I don't think it's in the dictionary. But I call it shocking the soil. And the idea was to get enough calcium in there to try to create an aerobic zone, if we could, and salvage a crop year. So here's the picture. This line, and this is going up the side of a hill, okay? So there's a terrace down here below and one above. That's what it looks like, rolling ground. This line right here, I asked him to do a further experiment for me. And it was a little bit of a risk. I'm used to taking those, and he was good enough to let me do it. I asked him if he would skip putting the 1,000 pounds there and double it up here. So there's a ton of each on that. Should anything have grown that much calcium in that small an area? That is an actual picture. That is not Photoshop. So again, what I was looking for here was, can we take something that otherwise he may not have raised much and make it into something that's got a possibility? Questions? Any questions? Any thoughts?
So obviously we created pore space.
Obviously we created a pore space. That's what I was trying to do when I say shock the soil. I think we did a little more than that. That was key.
How much rain did he get? You know?
I think up until, this didn't get planted till I think the first week of July. So think about what it might have been if we could have got out a little earlier. I think up until then, he had had 30 inches of rain in the spring. Yes, sir.
What was your soil type like? Was this,
Sorry.
was this a loam soil to begin with, clay soil, or was it sand?
This is a clay loam. These are in the rolling hills of Iowa.
Repeat the question. Repeat the question.
Oh, he asked what type of soil it was. Thank you, Mardell. He asked what type of soil it was. And while I have not seen, he's a new client, I don't have much history on it yet. I haven't seen the soil type. But yeah, it's a rolling clay. Actually a pretty good looking clay. There is some soil structure there. He was just besieged by too much water. Thank you. Thank you.
So what was the rate on the right side?
I'm sorry.
What was the rate on the right side?
In this area, it got nothing. The rest of the field was 1,000 pounds of gypsum and 1,000 pounds of humus. And then
Can you see?
that got nothing and put over on this strip, so it's a ton and a ton.
So there's no beans coming up on that right side, really.
How much?
I can see.
I didn't expect it to be that dramatic, but I had to take a picture of it. So,
How did the double application compare with the single application?
oops,
How did the double application compare to the single application?
in yield, we don't have that yet. I'm not sure it's harvested
Did
yet.
it look anywhere?
Okay? His question was, how did the double application look to the other? Obviously, there's not much in the other, but we're going to go one more picture. He also did a late foliar for me. And this is in that strip we talked about, and where the thumb and forefinger are there, those are, he didn't think it was making much difference. So we went and just looked a little bit. And where the thumb and the forefinger are here, we put 2 more nodes on, and the potential, at least, for about a dozen pods. Did it make it? I don't know yet. But again, it didn't get planted till the 1st of July. So I think there's a little something going there with what was alluded to earlier about a late stream application. That's all I have.